Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, a show that examines all aspects of sexuality, from physical to emotional to spiritual. Join our hosts as they discuss age-old questions, common misconceptions, and the latest topics surrounding sex. They'll tackle topics about sexuality from the complicated to the hilarious and everything in between. GSMC Sex Podcast is your show for all of your questions about sex, even some you might not have thought of yet.
Hello and welcome to Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast. I'm your host, John Johnson. I've entitled this one, Get Sex Going. That means to get it restarted, get it rekindled. You may have had the experience of the sexual chemistry with your partner has sort of kind of waned a bit, and you might be working on ways to get it restarted. Some people have a method of sharing experiences together to sort of rekindle the basic connection of the two people having fun. And the intimacy, being what it is, represents a big part of why people have partners. Sex is something that they enjoy, and the absence of that leaves a void to be filled, and there's not necessarily a lot of things that really come to mind to fill that void. Hobbies, being what they are certainly an example of something to do with your time. But when you're being sexual, what you're expressing, what you're experiencing is that connection with someone else. And that's unique to what being sexual is about, in that way that the feeling of pleasure, the connecting with another human being, and wanting to experience that in heightened states of arousal, it's a very powerful thing, and it's something that we human beings grow to do. So when that isn't happening, and there could be lots of reasons why that is. Let's say, for example, if you've had an argument with your partner for whatever reason, and there doesn't seem to be the communication that's leading to a resolution of that, or let's say you're feeling rejection from your partner, then those kinds of things build resentment, which then starts to cut off the desire for intimacy, if in some people. What you also experience in these times is, it may not necessarily mean you don't want to be sexual in and of yourself because of the experience, because I think you have found for yourself that that's something you like to do. But with the particular person who is your mate, who is your partner, and you have, say, felt the rejection from, you're not going to necessarily want to be sexual with that person. And therein lies this place of, okay, well, what do we do? How do we restart this? And, depending upon how long this breakdown has happened, and for some people, it might be a simple conversation, and you can reboot the intimacy in the relationship. And for others, it may be a longer process. What got me started thinking about this in particular was a conversation I had with someone about their relationship, and that they hadn't really experienced the physical intimacy, besides, some things that were relatively minor, which at least on the outset I thought was a jumpstart to it going the direction that it needed to go. But it sort of fizzled out. And what I'm going to share is something in the way of a little bit of research I did on the subject. And Masters and Johnson, who have been pioneers in sexual research, outlined a few things that people can do to help reboot their sexual experience with each other when there's been a breakdown. Now, in other podcasts, I've talked about how important communication is, just in general. Being connected with your partner. And that's really what that's about. Communication is about being connected with your partner, understanding how they feel, sharing your own thoughts, what's going on in your day. And as you become really intertwined in sharing that experience and the enjoyment of that, the enjoyment of knowing how your partner feels, then these other things are also part of the relationship, the sex, and in particular. But when that part gets derailed, for whatever reason, rekindling that then becomes the mission here. And how do we do that? And we take it in steps. Most assuredly, that's how we can rebuild, because that's what we're doing here. We're rebuilding the physical intimacy. We do it in stages. And by that way, we also build the anticipation, the excitement, and it works mutually, meaning that both of you are going to get something out of this. So on the first part of this, if you're having any sex at all, you're trying to rebuild the intimacy, but it might be a little spotty. It just might be an occasional thing. All right, let's stop all of that. So we stop all sex. And we're going to take this night by night. Again, this is something that Masters and Johnson had worked on. And they say the first night, it's going to be all kissing. That's what they're going to do. Nothing else. I mean, this may even seem really difficult because you're probably real familiar with that part of being in a situation with somebody that you've known for a period of time. Kissing seems really, really basic. But that's where we want to leave it in that first night. Simply kissing. Nothing more. I mean, you can think about the other stuff, but remember, that's part of that building anticipation, because we're rebuilding this connection that we've had that's fallen apart. So it's strictly kissing. The second night, you can kiss, but now there's a little more physical contact. There's the bodies that are touching. So the first night, it was all about the lips. And almost as if, like when you're little kids, you kind of kiss and you kind of chuckle and giggle and pull away, and you look around in case somebody might be watching, and you're real secretive about that. So that's real innocent playfulness. But the second night, you have your time with each other, and there's kissing, there's the caressing. And this is when the bodies are touching a little bit. Again, we're building something here. We're building that anticipation. But there's no nakedness involved in these. You got to have your clothes on. No nakedness. No touching the genitals or anything like that. On the third night, there's going to be more physical touching. That is, the bodies are going to touch. But again, no genital touching. And this is all, like I said, designed to build the anticipation. Because if there is some challenges to feeling like you're making this work, you can always go back to the step before this. So after the first night, you're doing the kissing and that seemed to be a little awkward. Well, then you stay with that. You do that the second night. But if you get to the part where you're kissing and you've got the bodies touching and then something just seems a little off, well, then you go back to what you did the night prior, you see. So this is all about building that anticipation. And on that note, I'm going to take a little break here, and I'll be back after these messages. Hi there, podcast listeners. This is John, the host of the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast. I'm partnering with Care Of, and Care Of is a subscription service that delivers vitamins and supplements which are customized for your specific health needs. You take a short quiz and you answer a few questions about your diet, lifestyle, fitness, your health goals, and Care Of will put together a personalized plan that is just for you. So when you get back into a healthy routine, and especially with summer being here, why not make health and wellness a priority again? Now, Care Of makes it easy to upgrade your health routine. Care Of gives you support with a boost. Now, whether you're looking for energy, better sleep, to be able to manage stress, or something else to help you feel your healthiest, Care Of is the great option for you. They have an online quiz which lets you know exactly what you need. Now, what their quiz does is that it asks you about your diet, your health goals, your lifestyle choices, and it only takes about 5 minutes to find out. It's a scientifically backed vitamin and supplement recommendation. So after you answer the easy questions like how much sleep you're getting, or are you looking for more energy? Do you need something to help with your weight management, healthy hair, skin, nails, and all of these other variables? So as you see, it gets really personalized. Now, something else to know is it's a very easy test to take. The quiz, after asking all of these questions, will make the recommendations because it can be really hard to know what vitamins or supplements you should be taking. But Care Of will deliver the daily vitamin and supplement packs, which were all customized to your recommendations so that you're only taking what you really need. Now, depending upon your personalized Care Of plan, you'll get daily vitamin packs and or protein powder, which will be sent right to your door. It's so cute and customized. You know what? The packets even say your name on them. Now, you can modify your subscription at any time when your needs or preferences change. So I want you to experience the Care Of difference. Now, Care Of will make sure that what you're putting into your body comes from the best backed sources, and it's honest guidance and transparency. You see, it's all available to you on their website. Care Of now offers protein powders, which are available in individual packets for on-the-go folks and in tubs. Like I said, it's all personalized to your fitness goals and dietary preferences. The individually wrapped vitamin packets are now made from compostable plant-based film, and that meets the same safety standards so that your vitamins are not only kept fresh, but they're better for the environment. Vegan and vegetarian supplement options are available to match your dietary needs and to ensure that you're getting the nutrients you need for those specific diets. Now, Take Care Of is the website. You go to takecareof.com. Now, you're going to enter a promo code and use the word relationship. That's RELATIONSHIP. Takecareof.com, and in the promo code, enter relationship. And you will get 20% off that order. That first order gets 20% off when you go to takecareof.com. And that's because you are listening to my program right here. You see? Remember, go to takecareof.com and enter the promo code relationship for 20% off. Now, I can tell you personally, I took the quiz because I needed some vitamins for myself, and I wanted to be able to tell you how easy the quiz was to take. It was fairly interesting, that things that I hadn't obviously thought of. Now, you could walk into a vitamin store, and there's a dizzying array of vitamins. I'm not an expert in that, but Take Care Of makes all of that easy for you because they ask you the questions and they will make the recommendations. And the next thing is, within a week or so, your vitamins will show up at your door. So that's my recommendation. takecareof.com and in the promo code enter relationship for your 20% off.
GSMC Beauty Tips Podcast gives you advice on everything from hair to fashion to skincare products. We'll talk about the latest trends in makeup, hairstyles, and anti-aging remedies. And we'll cover all of the newest fashion trends. If you have an interest in or questions about the beauty trends that might work best for you, the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Beauty Tips Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
And we're back. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, and I'm John Johnson talking about how to get your sex restarted. So, in the other segment, I was talking about how, the first night you're going to do the kissing, and the second night we can do a little bit of the body touching, and the third night we can do a little bit more. But if you have sort of a wobble in that, you can always go back to the step prior. So you don't keep going forward. You gotta get to the part, because we're rebuilding this. We want to rebuild the interest and the anticipation and the desire to go forward. So we do this one night at a time. So as you think about it, this thing can happen in a week. You just gotta stay with the program here. But the fourth night, there's going to be a lot of petting. And you can even get off on each other or help each other get off. That's part of the anticipation, but there's not going to be any penetration. That you got to save. You got to wait for that. And by working together as a couple, as a team, and really finding your groove again, you'll probably notice that the desire, it was always there. It probably didn't leave, but it was buried underneath whatever resentments you had going on. Maybe there was a rejection or a misunderstanding about something that was said. And those breakdowns in communication happen all the time. Now, you don't necessarily have to take a lot of time to really discuss all of that. All the stuff, and I know I've talked about communication being really important in the past, and I'm not dismissing that. But we're trying a different approach here. We're following the Masters and Johnson model, and what we're really doing is, in our interest for rekindling our sexual connection here, we're going to leave all the heavy discussions about the other things just to the side. We can definitely get to those later, but we're just going to put that aside for the moment. So again, initially, you stop all sex. I mean, it might have even been really choppy in the first place, with one person wanting it, the other person not wanting it, maybe one of them or the other giving in for, that little pity sex things that happens. Couples do that for each other. I mean, I think the gesture is that you're really doing it out of love. But, you might do that. But we're stopping everything here. And then the first night, like I said, there's kissing. The second night, there's going to be some kissing with light touching each other. Remember, no nakedness. The third night, your bodies can touch, but, we're not talking any genital touching, though. Remember, that's out, because we're still building the anticipation. Now, this could be hard to do for some people because they really feel that urge to merge, as we say. But on the fourth night, there's a lot of heavy petting, and there could be some genital touching, but I mean it'll be with your hands, or you can rub on each other really vigorously and feel some of that. That helps build the tension. But remember, no penetration yet. Nada. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to come right back, and we'll finish up on this how to get your sex restarted.
Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Hello, and welcome back to Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast. I'm your host, John Johnson, trying to help you get your relationship back on track. So, if you're stuck and you're not having any physical intimacy in your relationship, or it's just really kind of wonky and you want to, say, rekindle some passion in this area, what I've been doing is I did a little bit of research, and I'm following a Masters and Johnson kind of model for this because they were pioneers in sex research. So, there could be a lot of reasons that your stuff has fallen apart, meaning the sex connection. It could be there's a rejection of one partner or the other, and which puts in some resentment. There's going to be a lack of communication, which then builds into a lack of trust, and it's really hard to get these things jump started, and it just goes off in all the wrong directions. So how we get this thing rekindled is we want to try to share an activity that we both like. Let's say maybe reading a book or taking a walk. I think you should learn to, smile and acknowledge each other because you're both in this together. And eventually what we want to have happen is that there's just this spark that gets reignited. Rebuilding the connection helps do that, and that's where the reading the book or taking the walk, going to the store together, riding a bike, something. You don't necessarily have to discuss problems. What we're doing is we're just spending time together, and that's going to sort of help diffuse some of the tension. Because when you're apart, obviously your mind can run away with all of these other possibilities. What do you think your partner is thinking? Do they not like me? What's running through their head? And you have the same thing happening to you. Maybe you're guilt tripping yourself over something that didn't happen, and your partner's doing the same thing. So it's going this back and forth thing. So actually having time with each other, not worried about if we say something, we're going to set the other person off. So that's why I said, pick some of these neutral things that just are really easy. You can take a drive somewhere, ride a bicycle, read a book, watch a TV program that you think you both might like, and just share being in the same space without any pressure to perform and or to be interrogated about anything. Now, going back over the steps to building this intimacy or having, the sex to where you can get it to where you're really, really enjoying this again. The first night is going to be the kissing. The second is going to be some petting where you can kind of rub your bodies against each other. The third night, more petting, but no touching the genitals. Remember, and up to this point, there's no nakedness involved. You've got to do this with your clothes on. And then you cut it off, and then you go to bed. Right. Cut off the action. The fourth night, there's lots of petting. And like I say, you can build till you have a climax with each other, but there's no penetration here. Okay? There's none. Because Masters and Johnson said so. Now, this last night, and this is what we've been kind of building towards, is yes, you can do the full-on sex thing. If you can have an orgasm, great. There's penetration, yeah, but you don't have to have an expectation of orgasm. You see, you don't have to have an expectation of that. If it happens, great. But you don't have to have that. And by going this route, it's been very deliberate. And we both know, meaning you and your partner both know what's happening here. So there's no secrets. You don't have to worry about whether, there's any manipulation or anything going on. It's not that. Remember, you're on the same page. You're really trying to rebuild this intimacy so you can have it for each other. That's one of the benefits of having a relationship. And now that you've actually reached the point of where you're having the full sexual experience, hopefully what we're also experiencing in this stage is a real appreciation for each other. And I believe you should learn to celebrate each other. You've just gone through several evenings of building this thing up to where you can have something that you can enjoy. And it may have even been a bit of a struggle to begin with. So embrace each other and celebrate each other for taking this journey together and acknowledge each other for being willing. Because what may have gotten this thing derailed, rejection, words that were exchanged and an interpretation came from that was very, one of the partners felt hurt. Sometimes it can be very hard to want to try to be close to your partner when you feel wounded in such a way. I'm sure we've all felt that. So taking that risk is in and of itself a challenge, because some people feel rejection very easily. It's always right on the surface. Now that might be more of an insecurity kind of thing, but it's there. But like I say, celebrate your partner, the fact that you've come this far in the journey, and in doing so, give thoughts about how you can stay in this place which is much more fulfilling and enjoyable for the relationship. You've invested this time and effort into being close, and it might serve as a launch pad to be able to introduce other things into the relationship, other ways of problem solving and trust and intimacy and communication. And because since you've been successful at this, it might suggest, wow, we do work well as a team. We started out, we had some hurt feelings, but I still trusted you. But like I said, there was some hurt feelings. We worked through it, and now we're on the other side of it. That's success. That's a great thing. Now, no matter where you are in your relationship, meaning if it's a relationship that hasn't had a lot of duration, maybe a few months, or to a few dozen years, if you've been with someone for a period of time, I'm sure that you've experienced some of the things like this that happen in a relationship when the physical intimacy seems to take a dive. So getting that back on track is obviously something of significance because it's part of the relationship. And this is a tool. This is a guide for how to make that happen. So I'm glad I was able to share that with you, and I hope that you have success with it. I'm John Johnson. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From sex and relationships to health and wellness, life and happiness, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast.